and welcome to the channel, or for quite a few of you I'm sure it's welcome back to the channel. The last video that I did was all about my first ever bike packing trip. So it kind of feels logical to follow that up with looking at all of the equipment that I took on that trip. When I set this bike up, I kind of was focusing on trying to get the weight fairly evenly balanced. There is more weight at the rear of the bike, but overall the handling was pretty decent. So at the front of the bike, I don't yet have a dedicated bike packing handlebar bag. I actually have two bags. I have a very small handlebar bag, and then on top of that I have a roll which I've put on with these webbing straps. I got these really cheap from Amazon. So let's take these two bags off the bike and see what we've got. So first of all, we'll look at the roll, and this has just two items in it. So this is my sleeping bag roll, which is, I've got a nature hike. It's good to -5 degrees, which I don't really see myself rushing out and doing bike packing trips when it's much lower than -5 degrees. If I do in the future, then obviously I'm going to have to update my equipment. So in here, as you would rightly imagine, there is the sleeping bag, which is a mummy style sleeping bag, so it tapers towards the feet, but then rolled up inside of that there's an air mattress. So my air mattress is a Unigear air mattress, and apart from having a really cool logo, it is incredibly light and it packs down really small, which is the reason why I can roll it along with the sleeping bag and then get it back inside its own stuff sack. This bag, it's on my bike all the time when I go out for day trips. Normally it carries food and it carries some camera equipment, but when I'm bike packing I use it for a slightly different purpose. There are two pockets on the side which I can actually access fairly quickly, and so they have sort of emergency things, sunblock, also insect repellent in case that becomes an urgent necessity. So on the other side I have my CO2 bike pump and my quick repair kit for tubeless tyres. The upper pocket is a bit more difficult to get into as I'm riding the bike because it has the sleeping bag on top. So this is stuff that I would really only need to get to at my final destination, or if I have a slightly more major issue. So in this red bag, so tiny teeny toothpaste, a tiny teeny toothbrush, which I'm not really sure why I cut it down. It probably would have been just as good if I'd left it long. This is chamois cream, chamois butter, which I'm sure anyone who's ridden a bike over slightly longer distances will really appreciate having that. And then a very small deodorant. It's a very limited choice in these small deodorants, but I did pick one that I thought might have slightly less aroma or fragrance, just because it's less of an attraction to wildlife at night. Then in here I have a head torch. Some people will use their bike lamps when they're at camp, but then you don't have your hands free. I have an enormous tube of tyre sealant, and I really should put that into a much smaller bottle. I have a pretty cheap bike lock, which may not be much use, but at least it's a visual deterrent, and I might upgrade that one to something a little more substantial. Tyre levers, a bike tool, and then in here, and the reason they're in a sock is because they make so much noise, in here there are two more CO2 canisters. So that's the handlebar bag dealt with. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you're notified of any upcoming videos. Then moving on to my frame bag. Now you can pay any amount of money for bike packing bags, but Rock Bros, which this, or Rock Bros, I'm not sure how it should be pronounced, but this manufacturer of bag is actually really reasonable, and I really like it. It's made out of really good material. It has this waterproof zip that doesn't have to have the flap on it, and it has these large pulls which make it very easy to open. So I'm going to get that off the bike and we can look at what's in there. So this is a two-sided bag. As I said, it's got these really awesome toggles on the zips. On the one side I keep my valuables. At the moment I've just put my my wallet in here to demonstrate that, but I'll also keep my phone in there and car keys if necessary. On the other side, and this is also fairly empty at the moment, I keep my my electrical equipment and my camera equipment. So I have SIM cards in there and extra batteries. I have a battery pack there. I keep my lighter here and I keep it away from my CO2 and away from my cooking canisters. I don't know why, maybe I'm just being paranoid. I've got extra cables there, and just to demonstrate, I have one camera in there as well. I'll normally have a couple of cameras in there, but at the moment, well, I'm using them, so it's not that practical. And then the other thing I haven't mentioned is food. Now, food I spread throughout all of my bags. I'll have things like real simple protein bars or gels in my frame bag or in the side pockets of my handlebar bag. And then I'll have more substantial meals, things like dehydrated meals or rice or something like that in my saddle bag. For the purpose of this demonstration, I haven't put any food in my bags. I don't have any to hand. I'd probably eat it anyway. So at the other end of the bike, and also at the other end of the price range, is my Apogura saddle bag. And this does cost more than, say, for example, the Rockgross. It is incredibly well made, and I would have to say it's worth the money. I've just thrown this on really quickly just for the demonstration here. But when you put this bag on, you have to keep cinching it up, and it should be sitting up nice and high like that over your, with plenty of space over your wheel. So let's get this bag off and see what we have in here. It's a roll down style fastening, so you can make it larger or smaller depending on your needs. And in here I have just some really light clothing, and I also have my cooking system, which I've gone at the moment for a Jetboil system. You see, it's actually pretty neat and compact. It is incredibly good. In fact, there's probably nothing better for boiling water. But in terms of cooking, I've tried to cook rice in here and trying to stir it. It's just not so easy because of the configuration of the vessel itself. I'm sure it's a really, really awesome system, but I just haven't worked out how to use it quite yet. But I'll get there, I'm sure. If not, I might then have to start looking for another system of cooking. The main item in the Apogura bag is my tent. And my tent, like my sleeping bag, is a nature hike tent. Now, I must admit, when it came to the tent, in the end, I looked at the specifications, thought about what I needed, but in the end it came down to the price. You can pay quite a lot more for a tent, and obviously I'm pretty sure you get what you pay for. But for what I needed it for, I chose something that was pretty economical. The one decision I really did think about hard was the color of the tent. Being bright orange, it's not going to be very good for stealth camping, but I had to really think about myself and think, is stealth camping something that I could see myself doing? And I don't really think it is. And so I'm okay with bright orange. At least I can be seen if I ride my bike to the top of a mountain. But I'm pretty sure I'm probably not going to be doing that either. Have my bowls. And my cutlery, which takes the form of a collapsible spork. For my final two items, one is a Trekology pillow, and then finally is my 4Monster towel. And the towel itself is a fairly decent size, so it is practical. It's not like you're trying to dry yourself off after a shower using a postage stamp. You can actually get yourself fairly dry. It dries fairly quickly. It has this little handle which makes it easier to dry your back, and it's also good for hanging off your tent or even off the back of your bike just to dry it out. So that is my bike packing gear, or at least that mess is. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found some things pretty useful in it, maybe some tips and suggestions that you'll adopt in the future. And if you have tips and suggestions for me, I will gratefully receive any bit of advice I can get just to make my next bike packing trip even smoother. I do know that one thing at least that I'm going to take on my next bike packing trip is going to be a length of cord so that I can tie my food and things like toiletries into a tree so that they're well away from wildlife. So that's one thing that I've got out of this myself. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button and also consider subscribing, and I shall see you on the next ride.